some things that I want to talk about. First thing on my mind is I just had some cooked food. It was boiled cauliflower rice and Brussels sprouts and some seasonings. Seasonings that a lot of fruitarians probably are going to think, what the heck, why would you eat that? Things like nutritional yeast. That's probably the worst thing that I put on there. So it was nutritional yeast, some curry powder, and black pepper, and what is it? The seaweed. Dulse. I had some dulse flakes. That's kind of my salt alternative right now. If I'm going to eat some sort of complicated meal. And so I've been eating some boiled cauliflower rice and other veggies for like the last 3 weeks now. Not every day, but most of the days in about the last 3 weeks. Been eating some cooked veggies, boiled. So one thing that has kind of, been up for me is just this idea of eating cooked food and sort of this expectation that we put on ourselves, especially if we consider ourselves raw vegan, especially if we have any sort of followers, like we're trying to build ourselves up on YouTube or Instagram or whatever else, and we are eating raw for a while, and then all of a sudden we have some cooked food, and then it's like we don't want to be real with ourselves and be real with other people and let them know that we had a little bit of cooked food. And right now, eating boiled vegetables with some seasonings doesn't feel bad in my body. It doesn't make me feel like the best, like I'm super duper connected with the highest amount of biophotons and energetic activity as possible, but it really doesn't feel debilitating anywhere in my body. I don't feel like regretful necessarily after eating it. But the fear and the anxiety from eating it actually comes from the label of trying to make myself out to be 100% raw all the time. And it's funny just to witness that eating it doesn't feel bad. I really have no regret or any, I would rather eat just fruit and keep it raw. But when I eat these boiled veggies, I don't sit there the whole time thinking like, what am I doing? This is terrible, I'm not staying raw. I'm really enjoying my meal. That's something that I've really cultivated, is even if I'm not eating something that I know is the best for me, I still enjoy it. And it's kind of like we're eating something subpar from what we know is best from us, and that should be consequence enough, knowing that it's not going to be the most pleasant experience in our body. And so, that should be sort of punishment enough for us. And then, but we take it a step further by not only sort of harming our body in a certain way and putting things that don't belong in there, but we then proceed to feel shameful and guilty about it and feel, all these different things and replay it in my mind. And it's like, while we're eating it, we can't even enjoy it because the whole time we're bashing ourselves for eating it and being like, why is this happening? Why am I doing this? Why can't I just stay raw? And so that's something funny that I've kind of witnessed in myself in the past few weeks, is that the anxiety comes from how other people think about me, is like my anxiety about how other people are going to judge me, since I've been raw for nearly the last 2 years, and now I can't seem to, break away from the cooked veggies as far as right now, although I do feel like it's coming to an end and like I'm just not really wanting it hardly anymore, and I'm trying to get back on the juices and the fresh fruit, and that feels really good. So I feel like that little phase is kind of ending. But I feel like it was really beneficial to see that I care more about how other people perceive me when I eat the food than I perceive me when I eat the food, or just the act of eating the food feels fine, but then the thought of like sharing it to other people and letting people know that I ate cooked food feels more terrifying. Something else that I've noticed is that they really don't feel harsh at all on my body to eat boiled veggies, and it feels much worse to eat raw nuts and seeds for me, even soaked. It's just very, very coarse and dense, and lots of toxins. And even if you soak them and release a lot of the toxins, I still feel like nuts and seeds are so hard to digest and just do some really strange stuff in my body. And I found that it feels healthier and better in my body to eat some boiled or steamed veggies than it does to eat raw nuts and seeds. And I think I even knew that, before I even started eating the cooked veggies right now. It was just like this whole mental labeling thing that I have for myself, and, that sort of limited thinking where it was like, I may know that eating some cooked veggies is going to feel better in my body than eating some raw nuts and seeds. But if I eat the cooked veggies, then it means that I either can't call myself raw anymore, or I'm going to have to share it with people, and I'm going to have to, hear judgments, or not even their judgments, but my judgments of what I think they're judging me as. It's this whole ridiculous mental game that we play with ourselves. And so I would choose raw nuts and seeds as my craving go-to instead of the cooked veggies, because then I could still say that I'm fully raw, even though it's actually less healthy in my opinion and feels a lot worse in my body. So that's another interesting thing that I've noticed. And while we're on this, something that's been coming up in my mind lately is this whole idea when I witness people who are mostly raw eat cooked food or eat some kind of food that they know is subpar, it feels funny to me because almost every time they say I tried a cooked food experiment, and that just makes me laugh. And my first thought is, okay, actually, I'm pretty sure you just gave in to your cravings. But I feel like we like to use that word to sort of cover up, like, our true motive for eating the food is like, I wish that some people, where it seems obvious to me, maybe it was some sort of experiment, but it seems obvious to me that, no, you just totally gave in to a craving you were having, and now you're calling it an experiment as if it's some sort of more justifiable, and you can feel better about yourself. And that's something that I just don't want to portray for myself, is I know these foods are subpar, and I know that I have cravings for them, and I totally gave in to a food craving. This was no experiment. It's it makes no sense to me. It's so obvious with what we've learned, and if you're into raw food, sorry, I've got this, just noticed that I'm waving this crystal around. Helps me stay connected a little bit. Anyways, with all this knowledge that we have on raw food, it's we know the consequences of eating subpar food. We know it's not going to be were you expecting that it was going to benefit you in some way, that fruit and, raw salads were not going to benefit you? And so anyways, I just want to own that, yeah, it was obvious from the start, this is not going to make me feel as good as the most optimal food that I know is best for me, that I know makes me feel good, and I'm dealing with some sort of attachment, some sort of craving or some sort of aversion to what's happening in my life right now or what's happening internally. And so I want some sort of instant gratifying comfort. And so that's what most of us use food for, and that's all this is. That's all that, I'm using this food for, and it feels like I'm getting over that. I do so much emotional work on myself pretty much every day. I do so much meditation work every day. And a lot of just like expressing things that are up for me when they come up. So I would say that I probably work through a lot of emotional stuff and like attachments quicker than the average person. And I still have plenty left to work on. And here's something that I feel like is helpful to remember. This is something, it was probably actually a couple months ago. A friend reached out to me for some advice who was like deep in like craving and just like wanting to eat something that they knew was not going to be very good for them. And so they texted me. And I don't remember exactly what I said, but I basically summed it up in a way that said, you've pretty much got two options when you're craving and when you're in like this mental battle of wanting to eat things. And so I think it's helpful to realize that first of all, these are pretty much always mental and emotional attachments, comfort things, like wanting to avoid what's happening in your life right now in this moment because it feels boring or it feels unsatisfying for you, or just really seeking out some like comfort and some stimulation or sedation for your body and your mind. Typically also so you don't have to deal with the present moment. That's kind of what it all boils down to, is that you've got stuff coming up, basically ready to be released, ready to be worked on, and you are suppressing it with food because it feels uncomfortable to work on it. And so, I basically said, like, here's the two options. You can give in to your craving, and then you can feel like crap about yourself and probably regret it and probably feel bad in your body. And then that's going to pretty much force you to look inside. You're going to be like, I don't even want to move. I don't even want to like do anything with my life anymore because I just ate this garbage and now I feel like crap and my life feels like it's just falling apart. And that's basically like forcing you to look at what's going on internally, emotionally. You're just like, you're so full of garbage. You're just like, I can't eat anymore. I don't want to walk. I don't even want to move. I just want to lay here and like feel bad about myself. And so that pretty much forces you to look at what's going on and what's coming up, and like for all that to come to the surface. And now you're so like paralyzed by the junk you just put in yourself that you're just like, okay, I just have to look at this now because there's nothing else that I can do. And so that's one way that life sort of, or you sort of get yourself to look at something. And then basically the other option is to know that you are craving, to witness the craving, observe the craving, and say, yes, I'm craving this right now. I want this right now. This would make me feel comfortable in the moment. This would instantly give me satisfaction because it's basically avoiding what's coming up for me. And after you get really real with yourself in that way, just saying, and instead of giving into that, instead of actually putting the thing that I know is bad for me in my mouth and feeling like crap and going through all that drama, going through all that pain and suffering just to get to the point of looking inward and feeling what's actually coming up for me, I'm just going to skip the drama, I'm going to skip eating the food, and I'm just going to sit here and actually feel what's coming up for me right now. And that's also uncomfortable, but I'll tell you that it's probably 100 times more uncomfortable to go through all the ridiculousness of craving and giving into your craving and feeling like crap, and then finally getting to the point where you actually look, because life is gonna get you to look at what's going on no matter what. Like, that's the thing to remember here, is you are going to feel what's coming up for you. You are going to feel the sadness, the anger, the, anxiety, all the range of emotions that are in you, that are wanting to come up and out of you right now, that are wanting to move through you right now. They are going to show up whether you want them to or not. And so it's just a question of, do I want to just sit with it right now and feel it and be over with it and feel great about myself afterwards? Or do I want to give into my cravings, feel like crap, and then still go through the trouble of having to feel my emotions, and then probably, feel like crap until I, have my poop the next morning. So those are kind of the options, and I don't always go with what I know is the best option there. A lot of the time I do still give in, obviously with the cooked foods and everything, but it's just helpful to remember. If you can think about that, it's like, I'm gonna have to feel this anyways. There's not really any avoiding it. I can try and avoid it with some food by stuffing my face, but that's actually just going to be even more suffering and even harder, and I'm still gonna have to deal with this afterwards anyways. So yeah, I think that's just a quick ramble about some things that are on my mind. Try not to make this video too long, and hope you enjoyed it. I'd love to hear what you think about this video. Any comments, any suggestions about videos that you'd like to see, or anything that you'd like to know about me, or anything that I might be able to provide information on. Yeah, so thank you so much for watching, and I'll talk with you in the next video. Bye for now.